What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops, presented by WinStreakz. As always, guys, go download the WinStreakz app. 100% free to play. WinStreakz is simple. You make 5 picks per day on the NBA, NFL, NHL, college football, college basketball, the MLB. You win cash prizes based on how well those picks do. The contest runs every week from Monday to Sunday. Again, there's no deposits ever, 100% free to play. Use our code HHH when you sign up and start winning those cash prizes. Guys, it's the NBA Finals episode. We made it. Happy Hour Hoops is here. We have a podcast divided. Good thing. If you guys are watching on YouTube, good thing Jake is in between Steve and I right now. He's got his Dallas on. I got my Boston on. It's Celtics versus Mavs in the NBA Finals. And it all starts tomorrow, guys. It all starts tomorrow.
Doesn't start soon enough. I wish it could start right now. I would end this podcast right now if they're like, you know what, we're going to tip a day early. I'm like, all right, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Like, Donnie, I know we're probably going to get to this later. We're going to talk about, I think it was
Hold on, boys.
Days in between.
Hold on. We've got to run in here. We've got to run. I told you I got surprises here.
How's
Alex, Micah. You talk about a room divided. Mo, what's up? What's going on?
Just thought I'd drop in, see what's going on. I hear there's a big game starting tomorrow.
Yeah. One of a few big games.
It's a little warm. One second, guys. Let me take my hoodie off. Just a second.
Please.
Oh, it is a little warm.
Here comes the Luka jersey.
No.
But wait. We got another.
Fuck out of here. What you talking about? You thought we were going to even the odds?
No.
I
want the hot tag.
You're not going to make me turn against Slick today. You're not making me turn of all people, Slick. You're going to make me turn against Slick.
I heard you got some futures out there, Steve.
The futures have cashed. We did the exact finals matchup. We already cashed Slick.
I thought you had an outcome involved in that. Then I'm glad to say I don't have to say fuck your futures respect. Because we already made it. We're good.
Yeah, we made it. We're good. We're good on the futures.
Sonny, you look
36 to 1 odds.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
dude,
you.
amazing. Oh, just
fresh
incredible.
Back from Florida. I got the tan going.
Stop the glazing.
Yeah, you just look good. There's something about it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's all about that Celtic screen, man.
Yeah, man. We're here.
We've
all been waiting for.
I told the boys I had a surprise for them today. Did they know that I had 2 surprises for them? And a surprise for Mo, because Mo requested this. He said he asked for the time. He said, "Listen, let me drop in." I'm like, all right, but I can't let them get the drop just on Dunny. So then I hit up Slick. And I said, Slick needs to come in and even the odds. And here we are.
So fast.
We got a 2-on-2 tag team match going on here.
I love this. I love it, Jake. It's an excellent surprise. Let's start with our finals predictions. We're gonna kind of do this somewhere in the middle of the show, but let's do it with everyone here because that's better. Jake, start with you. You're the only impartial one here.
Right on the spot.
Yes.
Ooh. Well, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make 2 of these people very angry, 2 people happy. I'm going with, in 7 games, 7th game in the TD Garden, the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
I love it, Jake.
Right
side of history.
Cop-out answer.
Luka does really bad on the road, especially in closeout games. Really bad on the road in closeout games.
JBC tuning in. With his pick.
Yeah, wow.
Hashtag ban.
Wow, that's aggressive.
Where's the Bulls, JBC? Where are the Bulls?
Sheesh. Steve's got haters on here, huh?
You gotta have haters, man. It's a good thing to have haters, right?
Oh, for sure, dude. I mean,
doing something right.
I've had 1 or 2 myself.
Mo, you requested this time. What did you have here?
Most of my time was I just wanted to drop in on Dunny, and I thought it'd be funny.
That is
mainly
awesome.
What it was.
That is not the surprise I was expecting.
Yeah.
I loved it, honestly.
Yeah. That's mainly what it was. I mean, you want my finals prediction?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Mavs in 6.
Mavs in 6.
I think Celtics win game 1. They have the experience from a couple years ago. Obviously, I mean, not to say that like Luka and Kyrie don't have playoff experience or Kyrie doesn't have finals experience, especially, but I think Luka coming in, Derek Lively coming in, Gafford, none of those guys have ever been in a final situation like that. Game 1, and the Celtics have been great in game 1 this entire playoffs. But game 2, and we've seen it already be an issue for the Celtics in game 2 at home, and the Mavs have performed great in game 2s all playoffs long. So I think that's going to even up right there. And then, I don't know, I'm not going to go game by game, but I think that's how your first 2 games go. They're going to split in Boston, and that's going to be Mavs in 6.
All right.
Okay.
Slick.
I have the opposite of Mo. I got season 6. They defend the home court 2 games in a row. I think Dallas finds their rhythm more so in game 2. I think game 1 we could see if there's going to be a blowout, I think it's game 1. I think the Celtics could just catch the Mavs really off guard game 1. Like Mo was saying, the experience isn't there. A lot of these Celtics have been in the finals not even a few years ago. So Celtics take the first 2. Mavs find their rhythm in the second. Get game 3 at home. I think the Celtics then steal one on the road. Then the Mavs steal one on the road. But Celtics don't take the opportunity lightly when they go back to Dallas and steal the championship away. Unfortunately, would love to see it in Boston. Although game 7, Jake, that prediction gets me nervous as hell. But
yeah,
I'm here for it. That's what we love.
Oh, but from all I ever see is that Jason Tatum is the greatest game 7 performer of all time. You shouldn't be nervous at all.
Oh boy, here we go.
Most points.
You would know. You
Most
said
points.
it, not me.
Yeah.
You would know, dude. You said it.
Yeah.
Steve, am I going or you?
I'll go. I'll let you end it, Donnie. I'll let you close it out. I'm taking Mavs in 6. I've been taking Mavs in 6 pretty much every series. I think this is kind of.
I think you have taken it every single.
I think the only one that I was not sold on 6. I was like, oh, Minnesota might be shorter than 6, but we took them in 6. I think we took them in 6 every series. Taking Mavs at 6 again. I think Mavs actually get game 1, and the main reason is because I think of the Boston Celtics, who they've played in the first past couple series. You also have Porzingis coming back. We'll see how he gets moved into the offense or how they look with him. But let's be honest. They let Andrew Nembhard look pretty damn good in those past 2 games. Now you got Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic to deal with. By far, the 2 best players the Celtics have to defend in these playoffs. So I think they steal game 1. I think Celtics bounce back big game 2. I think Mavs take game 3. I think Celtics take game 4.
Oh, wow.
We know who the king of game 5 is. We know who the king on the road in game 5 is. Luka. He's taking game 5 on the road. And then game 6. I think game 6 is probably the ultimate game here. If the Mavs don't close it out at home, I don't think they would close it out in game 7 as much as I love Luka on the road in the playoffs. I think the Mavs get the job done in game 6. Either way, though, I would be shocked if this series goes any shorter than 6 games. But I'll take Mavs in 6. I'm not. You think I was picking the Celtics today, Donnie? I've been hyping up the Celtics all year long. I've been hyping up for 2 years. Stevie Boston's dead. The Mavs are just going to rip your heart out.
I knew Stevie Boston was deceased. It was a sad day. I mourned a little bit over the weekend, and we're back here now. I unfortunately for the Mavs fans in here, I have the same as Slick. I have the Celtics in 6. I'm kind of with you, Steve, though. I have a hard time getting a grasp on game 1 just from all angles, right? Like, obviously, you look at it like the Celtics had this big rest, but I mean, the Mavs, for their circumstances, had a huge rest too. Like all the fans are feeling it. We feel it for a reason. It's just a long time between series ending and then the finals starting. So as far as the rest goes, I don't really think there's a true advantage other than the Celtics, being able to get Porzingis back. But that's the other thing. Like, what is Porzingis even going to look like in this game? Is it going to be a decoy thing where he only plays 15 to 20 minutes? Who knows? And yeah, I just think the finals, there's going to be nerves for everyone. I think it's probably going to be a little tighter. So game one, it's just going to be all the nerves from, what the fans have. And then I think just all the things I laid out. But I do have my Celtics in 6.
Kind of interesting.
Dang, I'm the only one going 7 games. This
I
series
was
is
just
going
gonna
7,
say.
boys. Scott Foster's coming in game 6 and forcing a game 7. I'm calling this right now. They're going to warm Scott up, and he's going to get that ref assignment going into game 6. And
you guys see the ref reveal on Instagram?
The refs is everyone they want if they need to extend some games. But you know what? The good news is these are both all the ref crews really are ones that the Celtics and Mavs fans have been like, oh, they don't favor us. Well, they got to favor someone. So maybe they'll call a good game. They don't like either team. Maybe they'll actually ref a good game.
That would be nice.
That would be wonderful.
I just thought it was so funny. Like they never they made a full post for like who all the officials are going to be throughout this series. It's like, wow, okay, so you're getting this like on this route early, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's an issue in sports when just fans know the refs' names and they get upset when they see who's doing it. It's an issue in the NFL too, knowing who the game day official is going to be. Like hockey, you don't really have that problem. Like these guys, like they're not calling crazy games. Obviously, games get extended, but like basketball is just like it's so bad that it's notorious for that. And if it actually happens or not, whatever you want to say, but it's such bad that it's just out there that everyone believes it.
Right. And then there's like 3 different specific guys who are all hated for different reasons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
We have Scott Foster, the extender. Tony Brothers, people just don't like in general. They think he calls a bad game. Zach Zarba.
Is Mark Davis?
Yeah, he is.
Mark Davis is on.
Oh,
it.
God damn it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're all there.
Dude,
They got them all.
Yeah, just Steve nailed it on the head, dude. It's an all-star lineup. Like if this is the all-ref team, this is it. Bro, and like you said, Donnie, Scott Foster is just never going to live down those Chris Paul allegations, man. Like, nothing is going to do it.
Yeah, can I change my pick to the refs in 7 for my NBA Finals prediction?
That's a great pick.
I'm just hoping they just let them play. Just
They got
let
a
them
strong
play.
squad.
I think both conference finals, the ref, even with some of these crews, most of the games they're kind of letting them play.
I was gonna say, I've been pleased lately.
Yes.
Me
I
too.
think they were really bad at the start of the playoffs. I think conference finals, there wasn't really one game on either Eastern Conference or Western Conference finals. I was really upset at how they reffed the game. Obviously, if you're going to get mad at calls every game, that's just how it happens. But I'm hoping they call the games like they did in the conference finals, which like let them play. This is the playoffs. I don't want ticky-tack fouls. I don't want a little bump here and you're calling a foul. We want to see these guys play.
I agree. All right, we'll get Slick and Mo out of here. Dynamite is starting up right this second, and so wait, hold on. Before you guys go, what is your Finals MVP pick?
I was just going to say, I am going to go with the man on the jersey, lucky number 7.
Spicy.
We got the East. JT, as much as I love JT, just like hasn't been consistent as much as JB has in these playoffs. He's started to pick it up. He's started to look like himself. But JB's just been on a tear, man. He's looked like the best player on the Seas. I would love to say Derek White because I thought he was the unsung hero during the regular season. Just shut your mouth, Mo. But
I think it's 35-1 for Derek White.
And I've said this before. I said if you had said like I was like, okay, yeah.
No, dude, I'm not picking Derek White for Finals MVP. I think he has a great impact, and he was the unsung hero for the Celtics for me during the regular season. But the guy that's going to win MVP is going to come down to one of the Jays, and for me, it's Jaylen Brown.
Love it.
All right, Slick, before you go, I need one favor from you.
I think I can do that.
We've been tight before this. Like, you're not allowed to block or unfollow me on Twitter for the next 2 weeks. You gotta let it happen. You gotta let it happen. You just gotta let it happen.
The banter comes with this. You know this. Yeah, come on. I appreciate you boys having me.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
for-
Slick.
Mo, get your shit off. I can't hear you though. You gotta.
You can hear me?
Yo, you
Yeah,
can
there
hear
you go.
You're good. Okay. I'm obviously gonna go with the best player left in the playoffs, Luka Doncic.
Left in the
There it
playoffs?
is.
You mean left in the league? you mean left in the league?
The argument's there. It could be said. But Luka's been otherworldly. I think this entire season. I mean, obviously, if the Mavs were the 2 seed, he would have won MVP.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. He probably should have won MVP anyways because I think they're a lottery team without him on that team. Realistically, averaging 33, 9, and 9 is insane. And the fact that he came in 3rd in voting is ridiculous. And obviously, just in the playoffs, he showed that he is the top player in this league. He is of this ridiculous caliber. And if they win the series, it's going to be because of him.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, and even looking at Kyrie, he's had 3 good games in the playoffs so far. He has, really as a non-factor in a lot of these games. Or he showed
Especially
up in
those
losses.
first halves.
Yeah. Or he showed up in losses for him.
Yeah.
So I think it's Luka. And then that's what would be a fun game. Donnie, I'm not going to tweet at you at all. I'll just tweet out into the void, and if you see it, you see it.
I'll see them. I'll see them when I'm feverish.
He's got notifications on. He's got the notifications on for.
Especially if it's a loss, I'll be feverishly scrolling, just anger, doom scrolling, and I'll come across them. I'm sure. But all respect, Mo.
I got a quick question. So if the Celtics win, do you just add another number to the banner behind you, or are you going to buy a whole new one?
I was wondering the same thing.
Know.
What do you do?
I was thinking that this is a gift. There's kind of a spot right there, but
You just maybe tape a piece of paper
skipped it over. Yeah.
I was gonna say Sharpie, but you guys have a better idea. I should probably not ruin the banner that I have. But yeah, that's a good. If we do win, I'll do it. Maybe I'll do that on the pod. I'll get a piece of paper, some tape, just like I did to my Kyrie jersey, and turn it into a Pritchard jersey on the back. Piece of white tape.
That's gross.
Yeah, I wore it to a game, and it was a Celtics Nets game when Kyrie was still on the Nets, and it got a lot of laughs. But I haven't worn it since then.
Gotcha.
I'm kind of over that. We'll get to it later on in the episode.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for
Thank
coming in epic fashion, dude. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you. All right, have a good one.
Later, Mo.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
There it is.
Loved
What a
it.
surprise.
That was
What a
all Mo's
surprise.
idea. It was all Mo's idea, but I'm like, I can't have Dunny just outnumbered on his own show.
Yeah.
Like, that's just fucked up. So then I hit Slick up today.
Of
I was like,
course.
Slick, here's the idea. Mo came to me with this, so I need you to lock in. I'm going to bring you in, and we're going to jump Mo with it. And it just worked out. That's why I was trying to get.
So he didn't know about Slick.
No, he had no idea Slick was coming in. So I got
That's
it. Mo got one on you, and then I got one on Mo. It was like a perfect thing. That's why I was trying to get. We started this a little late, and that's why I was like, damn, I got to get home. Because I knew both those two wanted to lock in for Dynamite starting 6 minutes ago, and I had like a finite amount of time to get them in here for 15 minutes. But we made it happen.
I love it.
But I forgot what my last surprise, so I'll be back in 2 seconds. You guys keep going.
Oh, I know his last surprise. I know what his last surprise is. Donnie, where do you want to start? Where do you want to start? We get to talk about the Celtics and the Mavs for a whole podcast.
Yeah, this is awesome. So
It's fantastic.
we already started out of order because we were going to do our predictions later in the show. So let's just stay out of order here. And I want Jake to chime in on this too, but this is more of an exercise for us anyway. So let's try to guess each of our team's defensive matchups. So I'll go through the Celtics starting 5 and say which player I think will start on which Dallas player. And then you do vice versa.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of switching in this.
I think
on
so
both
too.
sides.
And then the classic, chess match, game 2 could be completely different who they start out on. But I think just to start the series, who do we think will be matched up with who?
Yep.
I think, both of these teams like to switch as much as they can.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously. I did want to ask you, though, do you think Gafford starts in game 1 of this series?
Yeah, I think he starts because it's worked. Even though Lively, when both healthy, especially kind of coming down the stretch of the season, and especially in the playoffs, will play the majority of the minutes kind of in the second half or, more of those important minutes. I feel like it just kind of works for the Mavs with Gafford starting at the beginning of games. And it kind of gives them a little more flexibility having Lively come off the bench too. It could be a situation where if Porzingis is 100% fully back, they might adjust later on in the series in games like 2 or 3 or something. I knew that was the surprise. I can tell you right now, for all the audio listeners, he's got the Kyrie Irving Celtics jersey on. Shout out, Jake. I knew that was the surprise coming.
Now this really is a podcast divided.
It really is. Jake's right in the middle. He couldn't be more in the middle right now.
I love this, man.
But yeah, Dunny, to your point, I do think Gafford will start probably the first couple games, and even if he does start for the entire series, I expect Lively to play the most minutes of the two.
Okay, I like that. So I'll try to start then. Jake, just to fill you in, we're gonna go through the defensive matchups for each of our teams. So I'm gonna say who I think on the Celtics is going to be covering the Mavericks starting 5 to start game 1. We both kind of came to the conclusion that, these will change probably within the, first few minutes. And definitely, after game 1, I'm sure both coaches will make adjustments. But I'll just go from point guard down. So on Luka, I think Jaylen Brown will get the nod to start on Luka. I think they're going to try to play him as much as they can to start games on Luka. And then, depending on how much he's cooking and whether or not, you want to exhaust JB for an entire game, I think he'll see a steady diet of Drew and, Derek in some instances, even Tatum. I think Brown will start on Luka. I think Drew will start on Kyrie. I think Derek White will start on Derek Jones. I think Porzingis might be on Washington and maybe Tatum on Gafford. Weirdly, Missoula likes to do this thing where he has Tatum on bigs, especially to start games. And I don't know if it's just to it's almost like the opposite of hiding a guy in the defense, right? So I think a lot of times we see that where if you have a big who can't really play outside, but you have a defender with size who can't really do too much, you'll kind of stick him on the big and just hope you can kind of disguise him. I think the Celtics do it a little differently where Tatum is such a good defender. They start him on a big where he has the size where he can keep up for a little bit, but he can also get in the passing lanes from covering Gafford. And then it's an easier switch if Gafford's the one coming up to set the screen. So that would be my guess for how things go. Maybe Tatum and Porzingis are swapped, but that's how I see things.
That's the only thing I think I would say I'll probably swap is because of how the Mavs have used the lob pass basically since the trade deadline. Basically, in the playoffs, they have been the team with the most alley-oop dunks by a wide margin. Porzingis is 7'3". If you want anyone to try to defend the lob, whether it's to Lively or Gafford, I think KP's a better shot than Tatum. I'm not saying that Tatum can't, but I feel like that's probably a better bet is having 7'3" Porzingis trying to defend the lob. Because I'll be honest with you, Donnie, if Luka sees Tatum on Gafford, he's gonna call for the pick and roll. He's gonna try to put someone on his back, and he's gonna go for the lob.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
On the other side of the ball, so we'll start with Drew Holiday. I think Kyrie's gonna be on Drew. I think Kyrie's going to be on Drew. Drew likes to, when he's not, handling the ball, he likes to be in the corner a lot. Kyrie's played a lot on the corner for defense, especially in these playoffs. Drew, sneaky speed, sneaky athleticism. Kyrie, I think, is a good spot there for him. But Derek White, I think Luka is put on Derek White. I just think that just kind of feels like the right matchup for Luka. Derek White, very good player. He's a catch and shooter for the most part, right? He'll have his mid-range, he'll drive, but catch and shoot, that's kind of been the guys Luka has been on in the previous series, guys who are going to be on the catch and shoot. You saw him on McDaniels. You saw him on Dort. You saw him on those guys in previous series. Once again, I said there's going to be a ton of switching, but I feel like that's a good start. I said this before this series happened. I said this before the Western Conference Finals were over, Dunny. I think the Mavs have two of the best defenders to go up against Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in terms of how they match up. Derek Jones Jr. on Jaylen Brown. You want to talk about athleticism with Jaylen Brown? Derrick Jones Jr. is just as athletic. He is long, he is quick, he is fast, and he gets in passing lanes. And he will be probably the best player on the Mavs at just contesting your shot, maybe not blocking it, right? Maybe not being an overall shutdown defender, but making every shot difficult. Derrick Jones Jr. has done that every single series so far. I think he's a perfect matchup for Jaylen Brown. He matches with his size, matches with his athleticism. PJ Washington and his length on Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, one of the best difficult shot makers in the NBA. He can stretch the floor well, too. And PJ Washington is fantastic at closing out on the three-point arc. He's also very, very good down low when you're trying to score on him. In terms of Tatum when he drives, I love that matchup, Washington on Tatum. I think that's going to be one of my favorite matchups to watch. They call it P-Jail for a reason. And he's been putting everyone in P-Jail, man. It's going to be an absolute blast to watch PJ Washington and Jason Tatum go up against one another. And then, Gafford / Lively. I'll say Gafford because I'm imagining he's starting. I think on Porzingis. You're going to have the size mismatch one way or another because Porzingis is a 7'3". It doesn't matter if you put PJ on him. Doesn't matter if you put Gafford on him. Lively will be the closest because he's 7'1". He'll be the closest to match with size, so I do expect him to play more minutes. But regardless, I think Gafford will be on Porzingis. But like I said, there's going to be a lot of switching, especially with KP, because of if he's fully healthy, Dunny, he's going to stretch the floor. He can hit as deep a threes as anyone in this series. So that could pose a big threat. But I do like Gafford starting off on Porzingis. Probably the weakest link matchup right there, I would say, on the defensive end. But you got to put someone on him.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think we're pretty much in lockstep with what we think about our teams. Something that I'm just asking for and kind of just want to see as a basketball fan, not even necessarily a Celtics fan, because the foul trouble thing scares me. But I want to see at least one game where we get a heavy amount of Luka and Tatum covering each other, because I think just even if we get just a few big possessions where they go back-to-back scoring on each other, like I think that is what the person who's not a Mavs fan, who's not a Celtics fan, is tuning into the NBA Finals for. These two on the biggest stage. I know, and I'm fine to say this too. I know that the pretty much clear consensus around the NBA is that Luka is the best player in this series, is that Luka, is greater than Tatum, which I would agree with, but put them on the parquet at the same time doesn't mean they can't have crazy battles, doesn't mean that, Tatum can't best Luka on any possession and vice versa. So I'm just super excited for that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will say that's only going to happen if there's a switch. To be honest with you, Tatum's not coming up the court. If he's holding the ball in the Mavs, we're putting Luke on him. If PJ Washington's on the court before a switch, that's his guy. And I also think with the Celtics too, if Luka's coming down the court, I think it's Jaylen Brown.
That's what I'm most interested in, is what are the matchups that they're going to hunt for? Like, I think Al Horford, when he's on the floor, is going to get hunted. Even Porzingis, I think, is going to get hunted. Like, they're going to be like,
so too. I'm worried.
I think right away, you have to, right? And you also have to see how they're going to cover him. Like, are they going to go back into that drop like the Wolves were trying to do? Are they going to blitz Luka and then leave the shoot? Like, how are the Celtics going to kind of go after it? Because the Celtics, they love to just switch everything. So if they're going to do that, then Luka. I wonder, I can't remember what pod I was listening to earlier this week, but talking about Kyrie screening on the ball for Luka and they haven't done that a lot this playoffs. Right. Were they waiting for like the right time to do it? That's something I'm interested in. And then for the Celtics, same thing. Like, how many times can you get a switch where you have Kyrie on Tatum or Brown in a situation? Like, they're going to be hunting Kyrie a lot in those matchups too. Absolutely. I would imagine. So I'm really interested to see how the offense kind of plays out. Not necessarily who matches up down the floor. I think you guys are pretty spot on with who's matching up on who. I think Kyrie and Drew, it makes a lot of sense on both sides of the floor. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jaylen on Kyrie though, and then Tatum on. I think
that'll
Luka
happen down the stretch
times.
a lot.
Yeah, I could see that.
I was gonna ask that. Let's say Mavs are down a possession. Luka's taking the ball up the court late fourth quarter. Is Jaylen Brown still on him in that situation, Dunny?
I don't think so. I think it'd be Drew and then Jaylen on Kyrie.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll see a steady diet of Drew on Luka anyway, but I just don't I don't think they're gonna want to do it on too many consecutive possessions because then
It's
Luka will
hard because he doesn't like Drew's biggest advantage. I feel like is he has size on a lot of the guards that he's covered. He has no size advantage for Kyrie. He's not gonna be able to bully him at all. Like the way
perimeter on Luka, he should be fine. You know, that's what's so great about the series is, and you could say that about 4 guys in this series. You know, and then depending on how we want to talk about Porzingis, and maybe we should talk about this after we see how he plays in game 1. But legitimately, full confidence, you can say it about 4 guys. Like, yeah, you can put a guy on him, but these 4 guys, the best 2 on either team, are probably going to get theirs in every single game, if not, 90% of these games that we see in the finals. So
they're all 4 are incredible tough shot makers, incredible,
and ISO scores, and can get their own off the dribble. Like it's
So like you could say this is the best defensive matchup. You can blitz them like you said, Jake. You can try to double. You can try to switch. You can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, Dunny, we've watched these guys for about 6 years. Like they're going to make the baskets when they're just on. They're on. And I think it's kind of overlooked because of how dominant the Celtics have been. And like I said, it almost kind of hurts them because they just haven't had too many close games in the regular season. They had a sweep and 2 5-game series in the playoffs, and everyone wants to say, "Oh, it's because of the injuries." Like you watch the games, like it does not matter what the other team's doing defensively. I mean, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum will make contested shots over and over and over again, and so we have, obviously we know that with Kyrie and Luka, and they've shown that in these playoffs. But we have probably 4 of the top 10 players in the NBA right now at contested shot making.
Yeah. And that's you just segued right into our next topic here, Steve. Let's go ahead and rank the 10 best players in the finals as a podcast because everyone else is doing this.
Jake's the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I like that. I actually don't think we're gonna have much. Yes, this is quite the episode. I mean, it's the NBA Finals. We got to spice it up.
Just taking it in for a second. This is insane that this is year 3 of this podcast. Well, year 4, I guess, going into the 4th year. Dunny and I started as finals, a pandemic pod. Yeah, because we started going into the playoffs. This is Steve's 2nd full season here, and we're already we had literally the only playoff matchups we could have with our teams in this season. We had the Cavs and the Celtics earlier on, and then you guys in the NBA Finals. It's crazy, insane. It's insane that it worked out this way.
Look at us. Who would have thought? Insert the Paul Rudd gif.
So are we starting top down, Dunny? 1 to 10, or are we going 10 to 1?
Let's go 10 to 1. That's more interesting.
That makes it a little more of a debate in these later ones.
It's also challenging to start with 10 because I feel like someone's probably going to unfairly get left out here.
I have my 10. You're not.
All right, say it because.
All right, so I'm putting Derek Jones Jr. at 10. I'm putting Derek Jones Jr. at 10. Mainly because, like I said, I think he's one of the best defenders at just making your shot contested every single possession. The effort he shows on the court on both ends is unmatched. His athleticism, like I said, I think he's almost as athletic as Jaylen Brown. We've seen the type of dunks Derek Jones Jr. can make, and he's been making his open shots in these playoffs. He's been a fantastic addition, a guy who from the start of this year with the Mavs and to now in the NBA Finals has kind of just improved over the course of the season. I have him at 10. I'll tell you who my 10 was between, if that makes it easier for you to debate. I had him over Horford and Gafford. I love Big Al. I love Gafford. I think Derek Jones Jr. brings you more of a complete player.
Okay, my 10 was going to be Horford. I do think, especially like importance on these respected playoff. Well, importance is tough because Al came up fucking huge when Porzingis went down. But no, I think I'm fine giving Derek Jones Jr. the nod there. Horford was my thought for 10 as well, though.
Cool.
Jake, any final words? Are you cool with Derek Jones Jr. being the 10?
Yeah, I think he's gotta go over Horford just for how he's been playing. I think, but listen, Al Horford is going to have a game in this series where he has 24 points and hits like 6 threes. Like I know that's going to happen. I don't know if Derrick Jones Jr. is going to have that in this series. He definitely could too, but I expect it from Al Horford back in this thing.
Yes, I agree with that.
That's a good
JPC.
one. I got to admit, that's a good one.
JPC. Steve can't even count to 10. We got to stop.
That's why we're counting
comments.
backwards.
Got to stop showing his comments. All right, Tony, I'll let you kick off number 9.
Oh, this is tough, man, because
I think there's tiers. I think
Yeah.
you put a few names here, and I'll be okay with it.
I mean, is it? I feel like you might think this is too low, but what my mind is telling me right now is that this is Derek Lively.
I don't hate it. I actually honestly could argue PJ Washington here at 9. And
Would you put
Lively.
Lively ahead of?
In terms of talent? It's close. I'll go with Lively at 9. I think the way Lively's been playing and his importance on the court, what he's done, how well the Mavs have played with Lively in the lineup versus without him in the lineup, gives me kind of the bump there. But we'll go Lively at 9. Derek Lively, you know what? We got to be honest with him. He's a rookie. He's super, super young. He played one season at Duke, and now he's in the NBA Finals. He has been another one like Derrick Jones Jr. who has just improved from the start of the year to now. I mean, I told you guys last week, I was like, I don't think it's crazy to say he's the 3rd best rookie in his draft class behind Wemby and Miller, where he could really make a case for number 2 in a year or two. He's done everything I've wanted. I mean, his rim protecting is unmatched. His offensive ability, and the only reason, Dunny, why I was kind of almost leaning him over PJ Washington is I haven't seen a big at his age. Obviously, we're excluding Wemby because Wemby's the exception to every rule.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a big at his age so comfortable passing, just knowing where everyone is on the court. And yeah, it helps when you play with Luka Doncic. That probably helps with that. But the pick and roll with Derek Lively has just been unmatched this postseason. He just knows where to find guys. He's comfortable. He doesn't care if he's getting doubled. He knows how to pass out of it. He knows when he can go to the rim. I'm fine with him at 9.
I'm so glad you just made that last point about his game, because that just even confirms that much more this comparison I was about to make. Derek Lively to me is a more durable, maybe a little more athletic. I don't even know if a little more athletic, just more durable, more strong Robert Williams in my eyes, because Rob could basically do everything that Derek is doing on this Mavs run for the Mavs. And he was an excellent passer who really didn't get a lot of credit for that. And a big part of that was probably playing with the Jays and how much free space he got and how much, he give it to one of those guys, chances are you're going to get an assist. But yeah, I love Lively for a lot of reasons. And the other, I think, what was it? Is either game, I forget what game of the Timberwolves series it was, but I just kind of made that comparison in my head. I was like, wow, this kind of reminds me of young Rob. Obviously, a little bigger than Rob, a little more durable, a little beefier as well. But yeah, I love Lively. And just doing this, I know we haven't even gotten to 8 yet, but it's kind of crazy. And this must be nice for people who aren't Celtics or Mavs fans. But the amount of just likable guys who are in this NBA Finals, there's not really too many hated guys. Because even the Kyrie thing with Boston, like, is there going to be times where if I was at a game in this series, would I boo if Kyrie got the ball? Absolutely. Is the TD Garden going to boo when Kyrie gets the ball? Absolutely. But it's not the same boos that it's going to be like it was a couple of years ago. And it's kind of like what he said in his opening presser in media day. It's kind of like he's matured since then, and flipping off the crowd isn't something that he's going to do again. Which I didn't even really have a problem with that, as it just made us, that much more energized. I thought it was just kind of a fault on his part. But I love how this is just a series where we're ranking guys and we haven't even got to 8 yet. I'm just realizing how many likable guys are in this matchup.
Absolutely, and like you said too, Donnie, with Kyrie, is I feel like almost the public perception's kind of changed on him a little bit. Where now he's a little older, now he's a little more mature, and everyone's kind of almost rooting for Kyrie now because they love seeing him like enjoying basketball again. They love seeing him playing well, and before everything that happened with Kyrie off the court, before everything happened in Brooklyn and Boston. Jake knows this as well as anyone in Cleveland. He was one of the most exciting basketball players we've ever watched. Just the stuff he could do. So it is very cool. The only other person I guess you could put, not in the same reason for the Kyrie category, but for some reason there's just this media perception of Jason Tatum, and I can't stand it. Just the media perception and I call it the most casual fan perception is that just Tatum isn't as good as he is because he's punished because he was too successful when he was young.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're right. I mean,
Luka is gonna be the villain by third quarter game 1. That crowd's gonna turn on Luka. Once he starts bitching in the halfway through the first quarter about some call from whoever the ref is, Tony Brothers tomorrow.
Starts yelling at one of the fans.
Have it. Yeah, and I think he's gonna do it on purpose a little bit to get that heat off of Kyrie. I think Luka. That
LeBron also just fuels him.
Yes, he loves it.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna get to. Is LeBron, like when he was with the Heat, talked about how much he hated being in the Villanova. He's like, I tried it, it wasn't natural. Oh, it's the exact opposite for Luka Doncic.
Yes.
Like Luka fucking loves every second of it. So I think he's gonna do that, and it's smart to take that heat off of Kyrie and kind of just let him exist in this game and do what he's going to do. Because I think Kyrie is not going to really want to, he's going to want to just play ball, like you said. But I don't think he's really going to try to be that villain flipping off the crowd. I don't think he's stepping on Lucky. Maybe he goes near Lucky as like a little joke or something like that. But I don't think that stuff's happening from the Kyrie side of things.
And to your point, Jake, with Luka, like he's been playing professional basketball since he's 15. And some of those atmospheres and those stadiums that he's been playing in back in Europe, crazy. So you're right. He's used to it. He loves it. And he's talked about it. He's
the fireworks going off.
Yeah. He's been open about it. He absolutely loves it. He goes, I love playing on the road. I love when fans are chirping him. He's like, yeah. He's like, I hear them, and it makes me want to play better. So, of course.
Yeah, he in media day today, Luka had a comment about the Garden and how he was excited because the fans are good for their team, and he's already just plotting, saying some nasty shit to the crowd. And it's awesome though. It's like I feel like our game needs guys like that. And I don't want this to come off the wrong way, so I'm going to preface it by saying, obviously, people who say obscene shit, and everyone knows what is and what isn't crossing the line if you're a sane person. Those people should get kicked out of the arena, when they do that kind of stuff. But it is nice when we can have fans yelling out at players and players yelling back at fans, and it's all within the lines, and it's all, no one's crossing any moral lines or anything like that. So I like that we have guys like Luka in the NBA who can do that. So shout out the players in this series. And
Donnie, you forget Luka has the get out of jail free card because he can just say I was speaking Slovenian.
Yes.
Oh, what did I say? I was just speaking Slovenian. Yeah. I love that he does.
Which he's already tried a couple times.
He does that multiple times. Like, no, Luka, we clearly heard you.
And there's probably very few people in Boston who know how to speak that language, so he might be safe. Is it crazy if I go 3 straight Mavs here? I was thinking this is probably where I put PJ Washington.
That's what I had too.
Yeah, like I said, they were in tiers, and I kind of had Lively, Washington, and we'll get to 7 in the same tier. But yeah, Washington's fine here. He's been unbelievable. I don't think being at really 7 on this list is a disrespect at all. I think that talks about A, how good the Celtics are, and B, how talented this NBA Finals is going to be. But PJ Washington, man, I can't say enough good things about him. You guys know I liked him when he was in Charlotte. He was one of the guys I was hoping the Mavs were going to target at the deadline. They got him, and he's exceeded all expectations already because we knew PJ Washington could be a streaky scorer. We knew he's a pretty good defender. I didn't know he was this good of a defender. And the one thing that I didn't know about PJ Washington, dude, he's got that dog in him. You want to talk about toughness. You want to talk about someone who will not back down from anything. You want to talk about someone. We talk about how Kyrie and Luka step up in the fourth quarter. PJ Washington will be 0 of 6 from the field and then hit 4 shots in the fourth. This guy some guys just have that in their DNA. Also,
getting fouled on the 3 in the OKC series. He closed out the series for them.
He was 50% from the line in the regular season with the Mavs. And then in the playoffs, he's knocking down everything. I mean, I can't say enough good things about him. I could talk about PJ Washington for 15 minutes, so I'm just going to stop. I love him.
He is probably going to be, I guess you still have to slot Kyrie in there as who the Celtics fans are going to hate. Celtics fans are going to end up hating PJ Washington by the end of the series, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But it's good. It's good. You need a guy like that. What was that? The Clippers series when he just did the stand tall thing, crossed his arms. That's when I was like, all right, they have a playoff performer on their hands. I liked that. I liked when PJ did that. So PJ at 8. Who you guys thinking for 7?
You might disagree with me here. I'm putting Porzingis at 7.
Okay. I would go Derek White here.
I like White a little bit better overall than Porzingis. I think White kind of gives you a little bit more.
I had Drew at 7, so we're all around. We're all
okay. Go ahead. You go first, Jake. Why do you have Drew at 7? Because I'm curious.
It's no hate against Drew. I just think that White and Porzingis can bring more in this series. Porzingis is the real wild card here because we don't know what his health's going to look like. But if we're just talking about talent level, I think they're a little younger than Drew. Not that he doesn't really show the age or anything like that. I just don't think this is a great series for Drew Holiday specifically. Like if we're talking about this specific series in this finals and putting it about it, I think White's going to have so many open opportunities from 3. That if he doesn't hit him, like
Steve before we start recording,
like Derek White could be, a 30-point game a couple times just because he's getting open threes off these looks from Brown and Tatum, and then Porzingis he's the real wild card, the real X factor here, and I think Drew doesn't have that offensive upside, and what he does defensively, I think Kyrie has the speed to kind of like Kyrie's played decently against him in their career. I think he's got the speed to kind of make life tough for him. And we kind of talked about it with Luka earlier that he's going to be able to body up on him. And then what is Drew? So in that case, here we go. In that case, is Drew going to cover like PJ or is he going to I wonder what they end up doing with Drew. And I don't think he's going to be a liability by any means, but I just think the upside's a little lower than the other two.
What you said about White shooting open threes, I think that could be Drew because we saw how good Drew was from the corner 3 this year. And if there's one thing I can take away from these Mavs playoffs negatively, they gave up so many open corner 3 looks. We saw the game McDaniels had. We saw the looks the Oklahoma City Thunder were getting. They gave up way too many. We saw the looks the Clippers were getting back in the first series they played. The corner 3 has kind of been like the kryptonite for the Mavs, these playoffs, where it's just like guys are just getting open looks. If they make them, you're in trouble. And Drew Holiday, to me, he's been making his corner 3s all year long. And the only reason I would disagree with Drew at 7 and I put him above White and Porzingis, defense, man. I know he's got the toughest matchup where he's usually, with his size can dominate guards. And now he's got Luka who's bigger than him. And I think we'll see Drew on Kyrie a good amount in this series. But Drew Holiday, to me, on ball defensive guard, there's not many better, if anyone better. I got to give Drew the bump there. Also, too, you can kind of play through Drew, right? He can facilitate the offense a bit. He plays bigger than his size, even though he's a big guard. You can't really do that with Porzingis. And White, you don't really ever play through him. He's a great guy, but the offense is never.
Sometimes you don't have a choice. He just hits everything.
Exactly. So that's where I give Drew the edge.
I don't think I can put Drew at 7, so I'm down to go Porzingis here at 7 because I actually like the point that Jake made for Drew, but I like it for Porzingis because of the injury. We don't know how he's going to look in game 1. So if we're talking top 10 best players in the finals for the finals, I'm fine with Porzingis at 7 here. And then, so now it's Drew or White then, I would assume, but for 6 for you guys?
I lean White at 6, Drew 5, but I'm not upset either way. I think they're
I would also
interchangeable.
say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then who's 4? This is what I'm most interested in.
So White 6,
who's
Drew 5.
Steve's waiting patiently. He's like,
yeah. So I'll say my piece. I know what it is in my head. It's I have Kyrie here.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I don't want to, I agree with Kyrie at 4. Kyrie, as much as I love him, he can make any shot in the world. He can take over any game, but he's had some games where he started slow. We talked about that in these playoffs. He's had a few games where he's not disappeared, but just hasn't been too aggressive on offense. Kind of, obviously you don't have to be too aggressive on offense when you have number 77 in the backcourt with you, but we've kind of seen it. You want to talk about playoffs, and I know the Mavs have 2 playoff risers. One of the biggest playoff risers that doesn't get talked about as playoff riser is Jaylen Brown. Like, he gets talked about, but not to the level he should get talked about. Put Kyrie at 4. Also, too, defense. Like, Kyrie's, his defense holds him back behind the Jays for sure. Kyrie's fine at 4.
That's why I like talking ball with you, Steve, because even when we're head to head, even when we're going at it for all the marbles, you still at least talk to me and Jake like a normal basketball fan.
Yeah, I could have gone ultimate Mavs fan. Jason Tatum. He's gotten carried. He's beaten nobody.
Well, Tatum's got to be 3 and Brown 2 then, right?
Yeah. Stop it. We actually would probably be called crazy by some people when they're like, "Oh, Tatum at 2, Tatum at Brown at 3." No, it's Jaylen Brown. Like, I love Jaylen Brown. I've told Donnie this before. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. If I had to have a starting 5 of my favorite active players right now, Jaylen Brown is my shooting guard. He's absolutely my shooting guard. I love Jaylen Brown, everything he brings to the table. But at the end of the day, we're comparing Jaylen Brown to 2 of the most successful, 2 of the most talented young players in our league that have been incredible since they came into the league at 18 and 19 years old.
Yeah.
Like, it's no disrespect to Jaylen Brown. It's still blasphemous he didn't make an All-NBA team. But when you're comparing him to Tatum and Luka, like, he's going to be 3rd. And it's nothing against Jaylen Brown. I love Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, and for me, he just needs to be not that I'm doing any of this to convince you guys, because obviously, Steve, you just said your piece. I think Jake agrees here. But it's just crazy this past week to see, and I think Isaiah Thomas, the younger Isaiah Thomas, the Celtic, I wonder if he was trolling, but he said that he thought Kyrie was better than Tatum and Brown. And just in these playoffs alone, Kyrie hasn't been better than Brown. No. I mean, it's debatable if Tatum's been better than Brown in these playoffs. I think he has, but that has been a debate. And then
the conference finals MVP didn't agree.
Right. Which, awesome for me. I love it either way. Richard Jefferson they played the clip on Get Up, and then I forget if Greeny agreed too, but someone else on the show agreed. Richard Jefferson said that the Mavs have the 2 best players in this series. And I'm like, are we disrespecting the Jays both, but are we disrespecting Tatum that hard at this point? Which I know we are, because they have been playoffs long.
I think some people are saying that just because of the sole fact of the type of ceiling level plays Kyrie can make, right? And, not for nothing, Dunny. We watched the Celtics. They just watched the Celtics beat the Indiana Pacers. They swept the Indiana Pacers without Halliburton for the last 2 games. Like, they watched Brown and Tatum, go up against Andrew Nembhard and Pascal Siakam. Not taking anything away from those guys. I love both those guys. But I think it's a little different and this is why I think Luka is being bumped up so highly and spoken of so highly right now, is because they took out their favorite players, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Anthony Edwards, in back-to-back rounds in 6 games and 5 games. And when you have the media that was, trying to act like, first off, that SGA was younger than Luka and that he was the next best player in the NBA, and Luka and Kyrie take him out, and then you have Anthony Edwards, who, as you said, was kind of unfairly talked about as like always the next MJ, and then Luka and Kyrie take him out. They're just gonna go over there rather than the team that took out Nembhard, Siakam, Turner. That's just kind of how it goes. So it's not really their fault necessarily. It's more so that they're like, oh, it's just been kind of impressive. Also, too, everyone has bias that come into it. Everyone just wants Kyrie to be the Kyrie of old again, and to see that he's showing flashes of that is making everyone, I'd say, very, very, very excited again in the Kyrie Irving camp, where, like we talked about, we haven't really seen a 180 flip on a guy like Kyrie Irving, where everyone used to love him, then no one wanted anything to do with him. They hated him in Brooklyn, hated him in Boston, and next thing you know, now everyone's rooting for Kyrie again.
Yeah, it's crazy, but we're here, and at 2, I'm not foolish. The same way that you said JB was above Kyrie, Tatum is number 2 here.
Yep.
And then obviously Luka, the man of the hour, Luka Doncic's first NBA final at number 1, and we love it. This is our list. So,
do you love it, Dunny?
I'm a basketball purist, realist.
Okay, how about this then? If the Boston Celtics win this series and Jason Tatum is the best player on the floor, wins Finals MVP, where would you put him in that hierarchy of best players in the league? How much can he climb in this series? Is it still like, has Luka done enough in your minds to stay where it's either Luka and Jokic? I know, Steve. This is why I asked Dunny the question, because I knew exactly what you were going to say.
I'll say some things, Jake.
If we had a producer, I'd tell him to shut Steve's camera off. No, I'm just messing. I think Luka's still cemented there. I do. I think that's how honest I'm going to be about that. I will say this, though. I think it's still, for me, Jokic, Luka in that conversation. I think it could flip on the day. I think if you tell me it's Luka, Jokic, I won't argue with that. I think they're very close, but I think they're the clear-cut 1 and 2. I'm just kind of done with people say that SGA is just automatically over Tatum just because of this 1 year that he had.
I agree.
So I think that's why, like, I think, win or lose this finals, unless Tatum has another, even if he has another finals like he did in 22, like, where is SGA, man? He's been on vacation for over a month now.
The Tatum discourse, we can all agree. We've talked about it at length and everything. It's gotten so out of hand. It's like absurd. It's like this guy was a bona fide first team all NBA guy. People treat him like he's, I don't even know, like a bum, like not even like a star, like a bum. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. My top 5 players in the NBA has not changed in 2 years, and everyone's just going to catch up eventually. But Jason Tatum's the top 5 player in the league. Like I have Tatum over SGA, and I probably have Tatum over Embiid, because I just
he
think
has to be over Embiid.
Yeah, I have him over. I think Giannis would be 3.
Giannis to me is 3, and I would put Tatum at 4.
I would put Tatum at 4. I think to answer Jake's question completely, I think if Tatum has the ring, wins Finals MVP, nearly outplays Luka, or is neck and neck with him as far as play goes in these finals, I'm fine to start having the conversation with Tatum and Giannis, because they're matched with rings. I understand Giannis is the more dominant player, but as far as defense goes, I'd still give Giannis the edge, but Tatum's no slouch. But then everything else other than interior on offense, I think Tatum kind of clears. So then it's just like,
I get that. And also, too, if Tatum does get the ring, he's going to have a ring before Jokic had his first, right before Giannis had his first. And also, too, and I brought this up when we were talking about the playoffs, Dunny, he already has more playoff wins than both those guys. He already has more conference finals appearances, obviously now more NBA finals appearances. There's just, like I said, I think the problem with Tatum is because he was too good early, or the Celtics as a team were too good early, right?
Yep.
Going to those Eastern Conference Finals early in his career, that everything else he does now is discredited until he gets that championship. And that's what I can't stand about sports, where people discredit. Then you get one ring, and now the whole narrative flips on you. So if Tatum does get the ring, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if he was in conversations with Giannis. But I've been non-biased this entire episode. I'll be honest with you, Donnie. I still think people are overlooking how good Giannis is when he's on the court and when he's
I agree.
healthy.
I think this was
I think Giannis
a tough
is
year for Giannis as far as
clear 3 for me.
media portrayal goes. I didn't really want to buy into it. I just kind of like let it happen for me because obviously, you know, I'm locked in on the Celtics making this run. But I mean, do I understand and realize that it would be a way different series if even just Giannis, you know, forget Dame. I think if they had Giannis, I think
Absolutely.
the Bucks beat the Pacers. And then, you know, just the whole situation that he ended up in general. And, you know, who knows, you know, exactly what happened. You know, he can blame himself for some of this, I would guess, because obviously I'm sure he was calling for change. I'm sure he was calling for Dame once he realized that it was possible. And then we know the Adrian Griffin thing too, man. Like you called for Doc Rivers, who's a guy who hasn't been able to win since 2008. And he's done this with a bunch of star-studded teams. So I think maybe the league is forgetting a little bit about Giannis. But as far as him being in this situation in the year he had, minus the injury, I think he does get a little blame for that. But yeah, that's where I see for Tatum. I already have him over SGA, and then I think I'm still fine with him at 4 if he wins the ring. But I think he has the opportunity to get into that third best player conversation.
What about Wemby? Next year.
Yeah. He'll probably be right in that this group of guys we're talking about.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if next year we're like, is Wemby top 5 already?
So just for the people who are listening and locked in with us, Luka, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kyrie, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Derek Jones is our top 10 players in the NBA Finals.
Tim Hardaway 11.
No.
You know, I just had to do it for Steve just to see.
You know who could be sneaky? He's not 11. He's probably like 15 right now, 16. Sneaky Jaden Hardy has really came into his own, especially in the conference finals. And he is another one of those kind of guards who could just get a bucket, get what he wants. More Tim Hardaway is just going to shoot. As soon as you give him the ball, he just pulls up and hopes it goes in. And Dante Exum has kind of shrunk in these playoffs, which, whatever. It's fine. Jaden Hardy is one I think could really step up.
Kleba, a lot of Kleba action this series.
Kleba's interesting because he's probably could be the guy that if it's really bad with Gafford on Porzingis, or if it's a real mismatch, they would use Kleba a little bit more with Derek Lively and really kind of have that size and that defensive big man. And Kleba too, the difference between Gafford, Lively, and Kleba will stretch the floor on offense. He'll at least make you guard him out there because he will hit the open shot. So Kleba's an interesting one. I actually expect him to play a little bit in this series, especially, like I said, if it goes south at the beginning where they're just kind of Celtics are playing like 5 out, just kind of picking on Gafford, making him, come out of the paint. Porzingis seems healthy. That's where I think we'll see Kleba a little more.
Donnie, what about Hauser or Pritchard? Who are you expecting a better series from? I feel like this isn't a PP series, but it could be a Hauser series.
I feel like he is, but at the same time, Hauser hasn't showed up in the playoffs at all.
At all. That's true.
And Pritchard has had some good spots. I was literally wondering this at the beginning of the episode. I'm like, is it just a 7-guy rotation for Missoula, which would be just Horford and Pritchard off the bench with Porzingis back? But that does seem weird, and you're right. It doesn't really seem great for Pritchard.
Yeah.
I think Hauser will see some minutes, and we'll see an 8-guy rotation. But I mean, he has to hit his shots, or
Yeah, he does.
there's just no reason for him to be
I
out
can't.
there.
I don't think they can go 7. They gotta wait, see how KP responds to that.
Yeah.
For the game action.
And
But
it's
I
the
could see
minutes
that
thing.
later
Like,
on.
is he gonna play like a full? Like, if Porzingis is good to play 35 minutes, then maybe there's even less of a chance we see Hauser. But if it is like a 15, 20-minute thing to ease him in game one, probably see some Hauser minutes. But yeah, like I said, he really needs to hit his shots.
You know, Al had a game. I think he had like 41 minutes a couple times.
Oh yeah,
Al's ready to go, man.
Yeah. So the rest might have been just as important for Horford as it was for Porzingis, because
rest.
I think the rest was huge for both teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Luka's knees got to be feeling better than it has.
He was playing Overwatch for a week. He's happy.
Couple beers.
He's playing Overwatch. He was watching his basketball. He's happy. And then Lively too. Lively too. That's huge rest for Lively. That's honestly why. And obviously, I remember I wasn't going to be friends with Dunning when he told me he was hoping the Mavs kept losing, so the Steelers would get extended. Doesn't want the Mavs at full health when he plays.
That was one game I said
that. but Lively, he needed the rest too. He was getting beat up in that Timberwolves series, beat up, and then having the neck injury. Like, it's as much as I hated it, and I'm sure Dunning agrees, as much as we hated waiting over a week, I'm sure it was great for both our teams.
Yeah. No, it was much needed. And it's probably going to turn out for a better product. Guys getting back and healthy, coaches being able to scheme, all that good stuff. Before we end, I have a bunch of final storylines in the doc that both you guys can see. There is a number of them. We've kind of touched a little bit on all of them, actually, but why don't we each just pick one? We'll talk about it quickly, or if you guys have a different storyline that's not here, please choose that if you'd like. Yeah. And let's kind of try to end the show with that. Either you guys want to start, or you guys want me to go?
Let Jake go.
Yeah, I can start. I think the biggest storyline here is it's not on here actually, and it's what I kind of touched on earlier. It's both the Luka and Tatum factor as the superstars, because their performance in this series is going to shape a lot of narratives as the years go on. Now, Luka has done a lot more in the public's eye, at least, to kind of garner some goodwill, but if he has a couple stinkers and has some bad shooting performances, mostly the only Luka stinkers can be inefficient shooting, and then opportunities for people to call him a ball hog and that kind of shit. But if he has a couple of those games and the Jays play great defense on him, as well as Tatum having like a great series, there's going to be some interesting Luka conversations going into the summer and next year and everything else, because who knows what this roster kind of looks like in the next couple of years, and who knows what, when teams are used to them and can defend them, what it looks like. And then as for Tatum, obviously, we've laid that out earlier too. Like, the Tatum has the most to gain and the most to lose in this. If they lose this series, no matter what he does, he can put up 40, 15, and 10. They lose the series, he's going to be called a fraud. There's going to be all this talk about, can they really get it done? All this other stuff. But if Tatum is the finals MVP and they win this series, it's going to quiet a lot of people. And I just think it's a really interesting, just looking at it from the lens of where those two are in their careers and the narratives and everything else around them. It's really, it's kind of rare that you have two young stars who we all just said are top 5 players in the NBA, bona fide, no question, kind of going for their first ring at about the same time, entering, not even really in their prime yet. Like, they're both about to really hit the prime of their careers. Right. And so I don't have the research like in front of me, the finals that's happened before, but it feels like it's a once in like a every 10 years, 15 years kind of finals where you have these two guys. And so, yeah, like Tatum and Brown getting one is interesting. Luka trying to get one, the Kyrie redemption story, all that stuff is really interesting to me. But I think it's just this, it's a star-driven league, and seeing these two kind of up against each other and what they both have represented for this season is really interesting, because so much shit gets shaped out of what people think happened in the NBA, or so much of what people think gets shaped out of the NBA finals. And these two can do so much or hurt themselves so much in this series. I think Luka hurt less a little bit, but it's still like it's just going to be crazy to see these two. And it's just crazy that they're in this moment. And we talked about it a little bit in the conference finals too, where it was like, there was all the graphics of look at these stars, look how young they are, everything else. But the two biggest stars were Luka and Tatum. And now they're here in this finals head to head. It's a really awesome if you are an NBA basketball fan, enjoy this moment, because who knows? Like, we don't know if these guys will play each other in the finals, but these could be the best two players in the league for the next 10 years. Like, Jokic is older than these guys. Giannis is older, and we talk about his injuries and everything else. Same with Embiid. Like, these could be the two bona fide top two guys in the league for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And for them facing off the finals, it's a special moment, man. And I'm really just excited. As the unbiased observer of this podcast, I'm so excited to just kind of see it play out.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it, Jake, is that I'm almost like, I don't want to say this because I don't believe it at all, but it's almost would be nice to watch this series not as a fan of one of these teams, because I do think we're setting up for an all-time great finals where there's just so much star power on both teams, but there's also the perfect role players on both teams to complement their star power. And it's very rarely you kind of see two teams come in here where it's like, oh, this starting lineup kind of doesn't really have a hole in it. Like, yeah, obviously you have your stars and you're going to have your superstars, but this team kind of just, it fits perfectly like a puzzle. And we knew that from day one with this Boston Celtics team, right? We knew that from day one. We were like, this is going to be one of the best teams in the NBA. They were the favorites, I think, for the entire year to win the NBA Finals. They were a 64-win team. They won the East by 15 games. They dominated more games than games that were close in the regular season. We saw that. But then we saw a completely opposite thing with the Dallas Mavericks that were just barely getting by. It's like, you got to get Luka help. This is a team last year that, quote unquote, tanked to get a lottery pick, which turned into Derek Lively. Like, this is a team last year that missed the playoffs. The Boston Celtics won the Eastern Conference Finals last year and the NBA Finals the year before that. The Dallas Mavericks missed the playoffs last year. This is a team that was like, all right, we got to make these moves now. We got to take some gambles and build a team around Luka, and that's what they've done these past couple of years. The Kyrie move, you remember, it was graded a D when the move happened. It was graded a D when the move happened. Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and a couple firsts, a D. Like, where they are from then till now, incredible. And then you have PJ
Dinwiddie's
Washington.
balling now, right?
Oh, yeah, he's been great. And then you have the PJ Washington move, which when I was talking to you guys during the trade deadline, I'm all taking victory laps over the PJ Washington move. And I don't know if you guys remember my exact text, but I go on Twitter. I'm like, holy shit, they got Gafford too. That was just a move that just kind of went under the radar.
Yeah, like, I think you missed that first, right?
Too. Yeah. Like, I didn't even see it. And it was like, it wasn't talked about. It's like, they got Gafford too. Just guys that just made this team better. The Mavs players have improved, I mean, night and day from the start of the season to the deadline and now in the NBA Finals. And it's just a puzzle that kind of fits perfectly together. So if I just had no rooting interest, no fan interest in this Finals, I think you're right, Jake. As an NBA fan, say what you want about Tatum, say what you want about Luka, because I know they were two of the guys that got the most disrespect by the media during the regular season. Luka kind of, like we said, overcame that with his wins over SGA, his wins over Anthony Edwards. But say what you want, this is shaping up to be an all-time great NBA Finals. Yes, and that's really one of the storylines that I'm looking the most forward to, because I want to try to take the individual players away from it and just kind of look at how these two teams match up, where how did we get here where the Boston Celtics has been this team that's so close, that close to becoming a dynasty. They just need to win the big one. And then everyone's going to do a 180 on them and talk about this team as, oh, is this a dynasty? How many championships can they get? With the Dallas Mavericks, this is a team that last year when they missed the playoffs, you're like, oh my gosh, is Luka even going to want to stay in here? Like, what are they going to do? Was this Kyrie move a disaster? They missed the playoffs. Like, this is a team that went to the Western Conference Finals the year before against the Warriors, and now they missed the playoffs. Like, sky is falling. What's going on? They nailed their draft pick. They nailed their deadline moves, and then all their role players are just getting better. Derek Jones Jr., Jaden Hardy. I mean, Derek Lively. I know he's the rookie, but still, they're all just getting better. PJ Washington was unbelievable for him. And now, if the Mavs win, we're not only just talking about Luka is kind of, all-time great conversation because he's going to have more success than pretty much anyone at his age with all the accolades and everything. But we're going to talk about this Mavs team as, the average age is very young. They're 25.9 average age. Their core outside of Kyrie Irving. Like, people don't realize Luka's 25, Gafford's 25, PJ's 25. Like, they don't realize Derek Lively's 20. Like, they don't realize this is a young team too. So
that Mavs over under next year is going to be.
It could be disgusting.
That wins total is going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts.
It could be disgusting. But that was actually a question I wanted to pose to you guys last week. I completely forgot about it. If the Mavs had their team, right? They had their team at the start of this season. Are they a 60-win team?
Oh yeah, they're on.
What are they? 60-win regular season
they're
team.
On a 67-win pace since they put this team together.
Insanity.
I think that they win 60.
Yeah,
at least high 50s, and I think that they're like one of the top 2-3 seed, like we were talking about with Wolves. Like they're in that mix thoroughly.
So that's what I'm looking forward to most. Is besides the individual players, besides the greatness of Luka and Tatum conversations, I'm looking forward to with like the teams that win or how they do in these finals. Talked about is, do we have a dynasty on our hands?
Yeah.
Is this team going to be a problem? Because I think you can make a case for both teams.
Yeah. Before you go, Donnie, AJ Spolsky, he's Batavia Daily, Bills beat reporters. Thanks for hopping in, AJ, and following along with us.
Yeah.
And same thing. So excited he said,
yes.
So excited for this series. Thinks the Mavs could win. Celtics are due in the best team in the league. He did pick Celtics in 6 earlier in the thing, but that's exactly what we're talking about here, like about how fun this series is going to be for just like anybody observing that. Even, I mean, you guys too, like as fans, like it's going to be such a fun series, such a fun back and forth. But specifically for just NBA fans, it's going to be great. And like you said, it's the legacies that we're talking about too. Like that's what makes it fun when you get to the NBA finals is there's so much like those accolades, all those all NBA teams for Luka doesn't mean as much, but if he gets that ring and a finals MVP to add to those all NBA teams,
I know
we're getting crazy with the Luka all time talk then. Like you can kind of start like picturing it like, well, if he keeps doing this, gets a couple more, like the combos he's going to be in are nuts. So,
and I want to take nothing away from the Boston Celtics. I know everyone wants to disrespect their road, but bring this Boston Celtics team was 64-win team for a reason. And not only that, like everyone talks about, look at the road Luka went through, the Clippers, the Thunder, SGA, the Timberwolves, and Anthony Edwards. Celtics would have went through that road too. This is Luka. This is the ultimate test. This is like when you're playing a video game, you beat the Timberwolves, you're like, I beat the boss. And then it goes, the platform moves up, and you're like, wait, what's this? And it's the next stage of the boss, and you're like, this is the final boss? This is what I've been preparing for? Like, that's what the Celtics are to me. Donnie knows. I'm not biased when it comes to this. I have said for pretty much almost 3 years, the Boston Celtics have been the best team in the NBA. This is their chance to prove it.
Yeah. And that's why my favorite storyline is probably just the Tatum and Brown thing, selfishly, just because it has so many different angles. Like,
and it's been 6 years. Like it's been so long too.
And like these guys have had like all the battles. It's easy for individuals and a duo to kind of give up and go their own separate ways, especially when the entire country and national media and every time you turned on the TV a couple of years ago, they were telling to split these two up. And I'm glad we have a smart man like Brad Stevens in the right seat in the Celtics organization, where he realized how special these two wings are, and kind of before their time, because it just seems like this is the way the NBA is going, where you just want skilled wings who can do a little bit of everything and play on both sides of the ball. And that's exactly what Tatum and Brown are and kind of have been since they entered the league. Obviously, polishing their game every year they've been in. But, I mean, Tatum's rookie year and Brown's sophomore year, they battled LeBron in 7 games in the conference finals. And now here they are, several years later, going to their second finals in a 3-year span. We already kind of talked about what a ring would do for Tatum. How about what a ring would do for Jaylen Brown? I mean, this is a guy who's averaging 25 points per game in the playoffs. It's not like he's hanging on to Tatum's coattails and this is, him just kind of getting a ring willy-nilly. Like, this is a ring that he will also have earned. And for a guy who got shit for being the highest paid player in the league, gets to hoist the NBA champion, the NBA championship trophy a year later would almost be poetic. So, I'm pulling for this duo in Boston, obviously, but I just think it's a great storyline and what this will do for their individual legacies, their legacy that they've kind of already grown together, and just what it means for the future for these two and this franchise. And I'm just so glad that these two never got split up, because clearly two very special players who, whether people want to believe it or not, know how to play together.
Yeah.
I think the one storyline we didn't even touch on, Kyrie to Boston, man. Kyrie to Boston in the NBA Finals.
It's nuts.
We don't even have to dive into it, because that's all you need to say.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're an NBA fan and you don't even care about these teams, you don't like Boston, you don't like Dallas, because they're two cities that most people root against their sports teams, right? You don't like Tatum, you don't like Luka, whatever. You want to watch Kyrie back in Boston. I told this to Dunny before you came on, Jake, before we started the pod. I go, I am going to be locked in for the pregame coverage, because I just want to see what that arena is going to be like, what the Garden's going to be like, about 30 minutes, an hour before tip, where we see Kyrie in the arena. We see Luka in the arena taking their warm-ups. We see just – man, as much as I would have loved the Mavs to have home court, it's perfect. It's so perfect. Shout out to the script writers. It's so perfect that this is starting. Game 1 starting in Boston. NBA Finals. Kyrie returns in Boston. Oh man, is it Thursday at 8:30 yet?
We're almost there, man. We're almost there. Is it 8:30? Is it 8? I think it's
8:30. 8:30.
Okay.
It's 8:30, which means it'll tip by 8:50.
You know what's sad, guys?
First quarter will end by 10 p.m.
At 9 Central, I have a softball game, and it's the most depressing thing I've ever had to say within my life.
Jake, what are we doing?
I know, bro.
What are we doing?
You gotta have the pitcher on the other team tape your phone to his chest.
I'm just gonna one bat in one hand.
He is holding the phone.
Jake's in the outfield. The fly ball goes right over his head as he's watching.
He's like, "I'll be designated hitter this game.
Yeah,
I'll be DH. You guys worry about the field."
I will be fielding as little as possible in our 7 innings tomorrow. That is for sure. The one thing we didn't talk about that I want to touch on is the coaches, because this is the biggest unknown.
Yeah.
What the fuck? We talked about some adjustments and how teams are going to defend and everything. I have no idea how these coaches, they are the biggest wild cards. Don't know how Jason Kidd's going to be in a final series. He's been great this run, but we were talking about earlier in the season, Steve, it could have been bad for Jason Kidd going into the offseason this year. And Joe Mazzulla, no one really knows with Joe Mazzulla, because he just has the most talented team in the NBA the last 2 years. Joe knows.
Did you guys see this?
What happened?
LeBron James called Joe Mazzulla a fucking genius.
Wow.
And I might have to be LeBron guy.
LeBron's stamp of approval.
We had to talk about Bron at some point in this finals podcast. You know that the first question to Kyrie Irving today was about LeBron. Wasn't even about finals.
Of course.
He was like, "You really asking me about this?"
Is it? And I like it for all the same reasons that we've been talking about, and we can get back to the coaches in a second for sure, because I'm glad you brought up Jason Kidd. But it's funny because we talked about how all the guys in this finals are likable guys, and Kyrie just doing a 180, like Steve said, and now he's all of a sudden likable again, and he's saying all the right things at media and talking about how, his time with the Jays was great and they're his brothers and they're so much better than when he left them. And Tatum and Brown kind of saying similar things about Kyrie. And, Luka kind of denying that him and KP have problems. I feel that the guys that might be being a little too nice. And I hope this kind of changes once the game starts, which I think it will, just from style of play. in general, but media day has been a little too cushy for my liking to this point, I think.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I will also say too, like there was never really bad blood between the players. There's bad blood between the
No.
city of Boston and Kyrie, but there's really never any bad blood between these players. And we're still coming out of the LeBron era of buddy super teams, kind of, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, I'm going against some of my best friends tonight, where they're getting drinks after the game and something like that. Like we aren't in that like kind of era where it's just like, oh, I hate my opponent, I hate him, kind of like the 90s were. So it is a little strange, but like you said, Donnie, it'll all change once they tip. And it's one of those things where I think nowadays we've gotten to the point where players can be competitive on the court, and when they're off the court, they're fine. And I think that's kind of what you're going to see. Like you said, Donnie, you're going to hate PJ Washington. The Boston fans are going to be. They're going to probably like within a quarter go from, oh, we're no longer like yelling at Kyrie. We're just going to yell at Luka. And Luka's going to love that. Like you said, he embraces that role. And on the Celtics side, Tatum and Brown by nature are kind of like quieter guys. They're kind of like quieter guys. They're not really a lot of off-court distractions all with them. They never really say anything too crazy in the media. They're kind of quieter guys. But I'll tell you what, once they start playing, they're going to play loud. And you know what I mean when I say they play loud. So you have teams that are going to show emotion on the court. I don't think necessarily it's going to be bad blood, but it's the NBA Finals, and what's going to make it, I think, almost feel like they're going to hate each other once we get a couple games in the series is how bad Tatum, Brown, the whole Celtics team knows like that they need it. And then Luka and Kyrie have only cared about winning.
They're starving for
everything is just about winning one game after another. And the one thing I will say about Luka Doncic, which you can argue that might be a little different with some of the superstars now, is he gives that kind of old school feel where he wants his opponents in these big games to hate him. He wants to get his bother his opponents. He wants to be that guy, and he wants to win at all costs. I mean, Luka, he said it in the Clippers series. He's like, if this is a regular season, I'm probably out for a week or two. He's like, I'm not missing this game. Yeah, that's where I think we'll start to see kind of the competitive and bad blood.
The most hated man in Boston is going to be Kendrick Perkins tomorrow night on the pregame show. That is 100%. That's my bet.
He just digs himself into the weirdest holes with the Boston fans, man.
Not even just Boston. He's got beef with me now. Today he said that Chris Bosh was a better player than Dwayne Wade during the Heat run. He said Dwayne Wade was not the best running mate for LeBron. It was Chris Bosh.
He's out of
what are we talking about, bro?
He started taking the Stephen A pills when he got to ESPN, bro.
He makes Stephen A look tame. This is a guy that said Anthony Edwards was the best player in the league, like before the Western Conference Finals series. Yeah, it's like, dude, like let's pump the brakes a little bit.
It's crazy, man.
Jake, did you have any more on the coaches? I know I kind of cut you off because I got excited about LeBron calling Mazzulla a genius.
No, they're just wild cards. I don't know what to expect from them when it comes adjustment wise and everything else. I'm excited to see how the chess match from them. Because who knows? Maybe the best coach on the court is going to be calling the game for all we know. You never know. Just saying.
True. JJ in the booth. I love it. I will say the clip that LeBron was calling Mazzulla a genius was JJ Redick brought up a point from the game 1 overtime Celtics. Celtics were up by 6 in overtime, and Mazzulla elected to foul TJ McConnell. So either way, it was a 2-possession game still, because the most he could do is hit 2 free throws instead of making a 3 and making it a 1-possession game. And JJ kind of broke that down. And LeBron was like, oh, I must have missed that when I was watching the game. And he was like, damn. He's like, the more I see about this Joe Mazzulla guy, like Joe is a fucking genius. And so now I guess I have to like LeBron.
Full circle for Dunny. Full
Yeah.
circle for Dunny before these.
It's like Kyrie Irving. And then the other thing, Missoula had a quote today where they asked him, about the lights being bright on the final stage and something, or like if they're brighter now than they were the last couple rounds. And he goes, unless they change the bulbs and the lights in the arena, then it should be just as bright as the last couple of rounds. So
Shout out
I
Jared
love
Allen.
Missoula. He sticks to his shit, man. He doesn't really break character for anyone, and it should be interesting. I think Kid in Missoula. The one thing I'll say about them as coaches is they're probably both underrated at this point in their coaching careers.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess that's a little weird to say about Missoula with just all the success in his first 2 years, but I still think it's true. And then I might as well bring it up now that we are talking about it. But Jason Kidd has the opportunity to win a ring as a player for the Mavericks and now as a coach for the Mavericks.
He's getting a statue. If he wins, he'll get a statue.
Probably.
He'll get a statue. If he wins.
I think the only other person who's done that is Bill Russell, and he did it at the same time, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a player coach and won the championship. But I can't think of any other coach that's won a ring as a coach for a franchise that also played for that franchise and won a ring. Maybe there's others out there, but Bill Russell comes to mind, and that's elite company regardless.
It's crazy, man.
And like I said, I have my frustrations with Jason Kidd sometimes, especially in game. It feels like sometimes he doesn't understand the flow of it, and the Mavs can get in a hole. Adjusting game to game in these playoffs, he's been
probably the best.
Phenomenal adjusting game to game. And B, he's beloved by Kyrie and Luka. Yep. And it's like, if your stars want to play for you, if your superstars love you and want to play for you, then hey, you can do no wrong. You can do no wrong. You can have some minor, matchup mistakes, or you can have why didn't you call a timeout there? Why do you let the game go on like a 10-0 run? As long as Kyrie and Luka would die for this guy. I can't say anything bad about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome. Are you guys cool with me doing? It's actually not the one I have in the doc. You guys cool with me doing a Dunny's old man take of the week to send us off here? Bring it back. Okay. Dunny's old man take of the week to end the episode here. I actually thought of this during the show. I want them to bring back the NBA Finals courts with the trophy at half court, behind the team's logo, the giant NBA championship trophy, Larry O'Brien just chilling right behind the logo of the team at home. Yeah. It was perfect. It looked so sick every time they did it. And they did away with it, and I want it back.
Let me jump onto this for your aesthetics wise, because my old man take is that I saw today the Celtics are wearing white in game 1, black in game 2, and then the Mavs decide they have to wear their dark jerseys at home, and so the Celtics will be wearing white and white game 3 and 4.
No green.
The Celtics green jersey in
the
green game is absurd.
Are the Mavs wearing what? Blue in game 1?
I didn't see what the Mavs are wearing. I'm assuming they're wearing the dark blue and the black.
They gotta win. They gotta wear the black. They gotta wear the black city jersey, man. Those are so nice.
Yeah, that upsets me, man. We gotta have the Celtics green in the final.
My biggest pet peeve is they really just need to do white at home, dark on the road.
Yep.
They really just need to stick to it in all sports.
Yeah,
you just need hockey does it best. They don't do white at home anymore, but hockey does it best. They make you pick your jersey at the beginning of the playoffs, and they say this is what we're wearing at home. It can be your third jersey if you want, but once you pick that jersy, that's what you wear.
I like that. I didn't even know that.
I wish and Nike's never going to do that with the NBA, but it just drives me nuts, and it drives me. It's so sad that this. Why can't the Celtics wear the green against the black jerseys? Just do both. There's not green and black. You can tell. You can tell even the green and the dark blue. You can tell them apart perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So that's my old man pet peeve.
I don't have an old man take. I just have something I got to get off my chest.
Okay.
Because Donnie and I are both going to see it. The NBA is classic people overreacting. We're going to see overreactions to every game, every play. And I just want to put a little reminder that to everyone overreacting, everyone's saying, oh, Luka's trash, can't make a shot, or oh, Tatum's the 4th best player on his team. He disappears at the big moments. Everyone's saying that. Just remember that your favorite team, your favorite players, is doing the same thing you're doing, sitting on the couch watching the NBA Finals.
Yeah. Get him. Completely agree, man. It's gonna be fucking awesome. We'll be back next week in the middle of this crazy series.
Oh, that could be a
There's
tough one.
lots of time between the games, so we'll
So what is our schedule? We've got Thursday, Sunday. Is it
Wednesday?
Tuesday?
Will be going into game 3.
Okay, so it's okay.
Thursday,
Wednesday, Friday,
Sunday,
Monday.
Wednesday, Friday, Monday, yeah.
And then Thursday,
Yeah.
Sunday again. Yep.
Crazy, man. So this is
Right
it.
here.
We made it, guys. NBA finals are here. They start tomorrow. We went over the storylines. We gave you our top 10 players. We had a little ambush at the beginning of the show. It was everything on Happy Hour Hoops tonight. So thank you all for listening, watching. Go follow Trainwreck Sports on all socials. Follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1 on all socials, and don't forget to download the WinStreakz app. WinStreakz is our proud sponsor. 100% free to play. 5 picks per day on the MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, college basketball, or college football. You get up to 5 picks per day. You accumulate points based on those picks, and then you win cash prizes. Use our code HHH in the referral code spot when you download the WinStreakz app. And thank you guys all again for listening. Later, guys.
Luka 34, 8, and 11 getting his MVP.